Hello everyone, my name is Roger Fari and I would like to welcome you to another video. In this video, we're going to talk about predictive versus prescriptive data analytics model. Essentially, what we're going to do in this video, we're going to look at two very similar examples. One that has been modeled for a prescriptive analytics and one has been modeled for predictive analytics. And we're going to see what is the distinct feature that separate these two types of modelings. By the end of this video, we are going to learn how you would go about distinguishing between predictive and prescriptive models. All right, so let's start with an example of predictive model. So here we've got a data set of 3,150 customers, and we do know what happened after 3 months about their churn status. Basically, we want to see if there is a relationship between the data of the customers, all these sets of data, with the behavior of the customers in the 3 months from now. Are they going to stay with us, 0, or they're going to churn or stop getting the service from us and get it from our competition? And that's predictive model. Basically, we want to see if we have a meaningful relationship and statistically a meaningful significant relationship between our independent attributes and a dependent attribute. So once we go through this data with whatever algorithm that we use, we've learned a few very good algorithms so far. Next, we will be able to now, let's say we've got 100 customers, we know all of their dependent attributes, right? We know their behavior, we've got the same data, but now we want to see if we can use those independent attributes for these current customers to be able to predict their behavior in the future, right? So this is that prediction part. We manage to be able to sort of like predict if they're going to be churning or not, right? So we would do something like, for example, would derive something like, oh yeah, this customer is going to churn, or this customer is not going to churn, or this customer is going to churn, so on and so forth, right? So that's one way we could use a predictive model. Another way we could use a predictive model, if you remember, we could also ask the algorithm, instead of like giving us the final answer, final prediction about these, about these customers, or like give us the class of these customers, we could ask to give us the probability of churn. Do you remember? It could also give us the probability outcome. So we would get something like 0.51, 0.72, and so on and so forth. And of course, these are between 0 and 1, these probability values, right? So that also is a capability that a predictive model can give us. So that's a predictive model. So now let's look at the prescriptive model. In the prescriptive model, what we want to sort of like manage is making a decision, right? So for example, here we've got two dimensions. We've got customer value and probability of churning for each of these customers, right? And we've got $20 budget. And we want to use this $20 to be able to stop some of these customers from churning. And we do know if we offer each customer $2, we're going to decrease their probability of churning by 60%. And if we offer them $1, we're going to decrease the probability of churning by 40%, right? And if a customer churns and we don't stop it, we're going to lose the value of the customer, right? So that's the problem we are trying to solve here. I mean, we've got these $20 and we want to see who are these customers that you should be approaching and giving them either $1 or $2 to be able to avoid them from churning. And should you offer these retentions to the first 10 customers, give them each of them $2, or otherwise? So finding that best decisions across all of these the 100 customers, that is a prescriptive model, right? So for example, you could do something like model this in a mathematical way. We call this mathematical model, and let a solution, or like use your own paper and pen to solve this problem. So for example, we've got our sort of indices here, we've got our decision variables, so we've got 100 customers, if you can see here, and also we've got 2 types of offers, right? And then because of that, we end up having 200 decision variables. Basically, each of these decision variables are going to be saying if we are offering type 1 retention, $2, or type 2 retention, $1 to customer 1, so on and so forth toward all of these customers. So we're going to have 200 decisions that we're making. And once we know our decision variables, and then we know our environment variables or parameters, then we sort of like formulate an objective function that calculate the cost, and then we want to of course minimize our cost. We've got the cost of unsuccessful retention effort and cost of losing customers. We want to find the best balance. We want to minimize the cost given our constraint, right? So our decision variables are our binary, and our budget is $20, right? So this was a mistake. Our budget is $20, and of course we don't want to offer each customer both of the offer. We want to just either offer them $1 or $2, right? We don't want to offer anyone $3 just because we don't know how it's going to affect them, and this is just a part of the problem. So these are the constraints. Now we sort of like formulate this in a package, whatever, in Excel, in Groovy, Python, in whatever method and then it will give you these decision variables, right? So that's prescriptive model. And the way we can sort of like see and be able to distinguish between predictive model and prescriptive model is very simple. For prescriptive model, we want to look for decision variables. Whenever we have something like a decision variable, like we did have in the second example, this is the hallmark of a prescriptive model. And when we have something like target, and we're predicting a target value, it could be a numerical things that we are predicting. It's actually prediction. And if it could be like categorical value, 0, 1 binary, it could be classification. So it would be a predictive model. Right? So that's the way we would separate predictive model from prescriptive model. But before we finish this video, I want to talk about 2 things. First, the predictive model and prescriptive models can support each other. So for example, pay close attention to this row here, probability of churning. We could have, or if this was a real problem, if we have the customer value, we could have come up with this probability of churn using a predictive model, right? We could have come up with these values, and these are exactly those. You could have come up with this column from a predictive model, right? So you use your prediction model, whatever algorithm you use, you come to a probability value. Now you come to a prescriptive side of your analytics, and you do these types of modelings, and you come to the best possible decisions, right? So predictive and prescriptive models can be accommodating each other. And this is an important skill set to be able to use these different types of analytics in the right place to be able to provide the most value for your problems. Another thing that I want to mention is that if we equate our decision variables with our target, which we can do, this becomes a new branch of problems that the literature calls them prescriptive prediction. We're going to talk about what is the prescriptive prediction in the next video. Until then.